Friends and other relations, and welcome back to another episode of Surviving Kerbal. On our second mission, we're going to just try and get into outer space. So we've added some higher tech boosters. I'm checking the staging right now just to make sure that everything fires in order. We also added so the SRBs, the solid rocket fuel boosters, are the first two stages, and then the third stage, for once we get out of the atmosphere, as a liquid rocket engine. That'll allow us to control the thrust and slow the burn down a bit. And I think we're just about ready to lift off. I think we're gonna measure the temperature real quick. Oh, and there we go. You know, I did record this with I tried to with narration, but I forgot to turn my microphone on. But all the footage was so good, I just decided to record narration over the video. So you'll notice it's not going up quite as fast as last time. That little rocket didn't have much mass to it, and so it was really easy to push up. This rocket, I was really worried about it tipping over on the launch pad, which is definitely a thing. If your rocket is imbalanced, it can fall over and explode on the launch pad, and even damage the launch pad. So we want to avoid that, of course. All right, so we are through the second. We're on the second booster now, and we're pushing our way through the atmosphere. And the atmosphere is really pushing back. But it'll push back harder before we're through, don't you worry. Still, this is already higher than we went on the first mission. And much faster. 800 meters per second. Okay, we're getting ready for the liquid fuel engine. I'm going to tamp it down just a little bit, if I remember correctly. Didn't I? Yeah, I did. Tamp it down just a little bit to lengthen the burnout as much as possible. We're outside of the atmosphere, or almost. We're pretty far out of much further out than before. So I'm at the track, and I switched to tracking mode, which gives you a view of just where we are in relation to the planet, and that little arc there is our orbit, except it's not really an orbit. It's our trajectory. And up at the top is the apoapsis, the highest point on the trajectory. That is the best place to change the orbit if you still have boosters or fuel left. We won't. We're just trying to get as high as possible. There's no way we can get into orbit with this loadout. We'll save that for a future episode with better tech. But while we're up here, we are going to measure space. We're going to measure the temperature here and observe the mystery goo. Okay, so the liquid fuel engine is out of fuel, so we dropped the engine and the fuel tanks. Those are going to go back to Earth. They won't survive re-entry. I didn't put any heat shields on them or parachutes. They're not going to survive the landing. Though I've seen some impressive recoveries. Yeah, this is not going to be one of them. See, it's falling. Actually, no, it's still going up. Okay, it'll reach its trajectory just a little before us, I imagine, because it was going at the same speed when we decoupled it. And the decouple would have pushed it down, or changed the speed a little bit, but not that much. In fact, I think you should be able to hear it land if it lands just a little before us. That's often the case. You can hear the explosion in the distance. Not out here, though. You can't hear it out here. Because in space, no one can hear you explode. Good to know, right? Alright, we are Approaching SPAAAAAACE. I think this is where I I tried to direct the capsule so that the bottom of it was facing the direction that the capsule is going, but that's kind of pointless at this point. All it really does is turn the windows downwards so that Jebediah can see Kerbal from up here. You could probably see it anyway. This is not exactly like real life. Oh yeah, I forgot we did an EVA. Extravehicular activity. He stepped out, looked around, and then he steps back in. That's all. Yeah, back inside the ship. Alright. It turns out that you cannot measure temperature in space. And the goo seems to have clumped into a sphere. Also appears to become brittle. Well, that tells us things. Alright, I think I'm trying to find the planet. No, I was just trying to get... Okay. We're starting to fall now. We're increasing speed as we go down. You'll notice this was a much longer flight. We're already... Well, it's not that long a flight. It won't... In the end, it won't have been even an hour before we land. Not even half an hour. I think we managed it all in less than 15 minutes. And, oh yeah, I was... At this point, I was looking at the moon and wondering why it looks so much like the Death Star. There's something very disconcerting about pointing the camera down at the planet and watching your spaceship fall. I can't imagine being an astronaut going at these speeds toward the surface. That would just be... Well, it helps that the windows are facing up. You wouldn't actually be able to look down. I couldn't do it. And here I'm trying to figure out whether I'm going to land on land or in the ocean. It turns out I'm going to land on land, as much as I was hoping for ocean. Just didn't happen. Ocean landings always make me feel better, even though it doesn't make that much of it. Well, no, it can definitely make a difference, but with this little capsule, the parachute is more than enough to make sure that it lands slowly. Well, 7 meters per second, but you know, slowly. Warping time, so we can approach the atmosphere faster. You can't use the time warp in the atmosphere very much. Once you're in the atmosphere, you can punch it to ×2. Unless you're accelerating, then you can't use it at all. If you're in outer space, you can punch it to ×50, ×100, I think, is the limit there. Which is great for interplanetary travel. Or if you just want to orbit Earth several times, but you don't want to wait days and days. You could do these missions in real time. You could totally, and they would take exactly as long as you'd imagine a mission to the moon or another planet would take. It's impressive, really, what they've done with the physics engine and their attempts at fidelity. Alright, so you'll notice that the capsule, I didn't add a heat shield. I haven't researched it yet. And so all of the parts are experiencing this heat, but the capsule does have its own natural heat dissipation system with it, thankfully. Don't worry, on the next one I'm definitely adding a heat shield. That is the next thing in our research queue. Alright, we have made it, we've slowed down enough that we're no longer burning up in the atmosphere. I'm sure Jebediah is very thankful for that. The G-forces on his poor body are going down. Alright, now it's just, all we have to do is stick the landing, the parachute's out. Death Star's watching. You have to remember the altitude meter up at the top. It measures how high you are above sea level. And very often when you're landing on Kerbal, or very often when you're landing on Kerbal, the land is not sea level. It's a bit higher than that. So don't think you're safe just because you're 500 meters up. That might just mean you're 500 meters above sea level, but 2 meters above the surface. Here it comes. You know, this is always the slowest part, but it's also the most nerve-wracking because I've seen things, even with the parachute activated, explode once they touch the ground, and it always makes me nervous. Oh, okay. There we go. Now I remember I forgot to have Jebediah step out and take a sample of the soil here, but I did remember to observe the mystery goo and see how it does up in Kerbin's Highlands. Not highlands, grasslands. Thank you, friends and other Phalacians, for watching. I hope you're having a great day. Hope you enjoyed the mission. Hope you go learn something new today, and I will see you anon. Bye!